Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you've all been well since the last time I spoke with you, or to you. I want to get right into today's question because it's kind of lengthy. It's from John, which you will you'll probably laugh at the name once you see the content of the question. He says, "Dear Mark, a good friend of mine recommended I contact you for advice. After watching a few of your videos, I decided to give it a go. If you answer via video, please don't mention my location. I've been seeing an escort weekly for quite some time now, for dinner and time after." I think we know what the time after implies. We've never had an arrangement or an agreement, but I've seen him every week for close to a year. It's becoming boring and unenjoyable for me, and from what I can tell, for him as well. Last week I did not contact him to set up a meeting, and he texted me asking if we were getting together this week, and I said no. When pressed about further meetings, I told him that we were no longer compatible, and things went downhill from there. He said that I should pay him for a month's worth of appointments, which amounts to $2,000, because I didn't give him enough notice to find another regular. When I said absolutely not, he implied he has video footage of one of our encounters. I don't know if that's true, but the only time he could have acquired that would be the few times we went back to his apartment after rather than my house after dinner. I'm openly gay, but I would be mortified for something like this to be public, and the possible career consequences. I'm tempted to give him money to placate him, but my friend thinks that's ludicrous. How do you think I should proceed? The amount is negligible, if that makes a difference." Well, John, if the $2,000 is negligible, feel free to send it my way for the advice I'm about to give you versus sending it to this bozo who's blackmailing you. Look, let's step back and look at this objectively and realistically. There is a certain self-defeating, self-neutralizing aspect to his threat, which is, if he were to make good on it and release this footage of you two, this alleged footage of you two, he would be done as an escort. Nobody would ever hire him again. So I think that it's very, very extremely unlikely that he would ever make good and go through with this threat and release the footage. And my guess is, I'm 99% certain that the footage doesn't exist. But even if it did, it would be career suicide to release it. So now we are paying him off the table completely, because your friend is right. It is ludicrous. First of all, whether the amount is consequential or significant to you is irrelevant, because paying him will not placate him. The initial amount is never enough to satisfy somebody who's engaging in this kind of behavior. I'm almost certain that he would contact you again, demanding more money and threatening to release this footage. And you'd be surprised how often I hear about things like this. For example, I know a gentleman in New York who ended up paying a guy for, certainly over a year, because the guy threatened to release video footage or a picture or something like that and send it to his wife and all of this kind of stuff. And so finally, and like you, he thought, well, the money is rather insignificant to me, so it's just better to pay him off rather than go through this fear of this picture or video being released. But finally, after a really long time, he got fed up and he had enough, and he said, I'm just not going to pay you anymore. And the guy who had been blackmailing him all this time said, you better pay me, or by the end of the night or the end of the day, this footage is going to be all over the internet, and I'm going to email it to your wife's work and all this kind of stuff. So the guy said, I'm done. If you're going to do that, go ahead and do it, but I'm not paying you anymore. And what do you think happened? No footage turned up, no picture was ever emailed, nothing of the sort happened. It was a totally toothless threat, which is usually the case in these situations. So, now that we have decided you're not going to give him any of this extortion money, how do you proceed from here? Well, there's two ways. You could just ignore him, knowing that it's unlikely that he follows through with any of this, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. Or you could be a bit more confrontational. Now, I have to tell you that it's in my nature to be pugilistic and to be pretty ferocious when it comes to things like this. It doesn't always mean that, but sometimes you create more of a headache for yourself than if you just ignored the thing and let it die down. But you could also contact him and say, listen, I want you to know that I feel bad things have devolved to this point, but I want to give you one more chance to withdraw this threat because I'm going to contact the authorities and tell them you've been blackmailing me, which is a crime. And by the way, people do go to jail for that. There was a case of a prominent escort a few years ago who went to jail for blackmailing a client, although the amounts were much larger than this. And you can say, by the way, not only have you blackmailed me, but if you go through with this and you release the footage, you will be in violation of several revenge porn statutes that the state has. And John, you do live in a state that has pretty aggressive revenge porn laws, so he would be in big trouble for that. And then you can also point out to him that after the authorities get done with him, you will pursue him civilly for invasion of privacy, and that it's in his best interest probably just to withdraw this threat. You can go into those details to various degrees. I mean, I would probably stick with just letting him know that you will contact the authorities and let them know he's blackmailing you. And my guess is he will shut up fairly quickly and probably not even respond to the text and not contact you again. But either option, either ignore him or just tell him you're going to contact the authorities about blackmail. And that's it. Whatever you do, don't pay him. First of all, I think that's, you have to have some self-respect. You can't be steamrolled and strong-armed by somebody like this. But just some advice for the future, John. If you're in a dynamic where your only interest in the person is their body and their appearance, and their only interest in you is your wallet, you can be certain that long after your interest has faded, theirs remains. So, you want to kind of think about the dynamics that you're getting yourself into. But certainly, this would not be par for the course for your normal encounter. Most guys in the business are not going to blackmail you or do anything else. But I hope this helps you. If you have any further questions, feel free to email me. And also, I'd be interested to know how this whole thing turns out. So email me with an update once it's resolved. Guys, do me a big favor. Click subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. And until next time, I hope you all continue to do well. Have a good night.